Boomer Zoomers, Boomer Zoomers, Boomer Zoomers, Boomer Zoomers. Connecting through Zoom, it's the way to go. So let's dive right in. It's Boomer Zoomers.
Now, what? That was just such a terrific segment with Jeff. Thank you. He represents the views of so many parents in this state. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to come back to the inconvenient truth about wind farms and windmills. And it's our favorite part of the week, or twice a month, when we go down to the Charlestown Senior Center and our beloved Boomer Zoomers. Bill, Isabella, tell us who you have with you today.
Mike, to my immediate left is a lovely Kathy Kroner.
Hey, Kathy, welcome back.
Well, you can decide what it is, but that's Ken McCoy. Ken is a regular on this segment with us. He's the guy that comes up with the corny jokes, as you well know, as you can tell from your laugh. So
yeah, well, he's not so welcome back, but we'll put up with him for today anyway. Again, no, just kidding, Ken. All right, now we're going to talk today. First of all, let me just say this: Happy belated July 4th to each of you. We had a great celebration of our nation's founding.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We did. Had a good day. Yeah.
Now, as your group does, you guys discuss public policy and other public issues and whatnot, politics. You also watch and screen movies. Last week, and we're going to talk about it in just a minute, or a few weeks ago, you watched Planet of the Humans, which is the movie we talked about in our first segment with the Independent Women's Network. But, Bill, there's a bigger story to it. The reason you and I know each other, because your former senior center wouldn't let you watch a movie. Go ahead,
That is correct, Mike. In May of last year, I went to show another movie, 2,000 Mules, and unceremoniously was told that I could not show it. I was not really given a solid reason other than the fact that I could not show it. Make a very long story short, we were unceremoniously thrown out of that senior center, and we sought and found a new place, a new home here. When I brought up the movie Planet of the Humans, they immediately welcomed us and said, absolutely, show it at will. And that's just what we did. That's freedom, Mike.
That's freedom. That's honoring the First Amendment. So kudos to the Charlestown Senior Center, and boo-hoo to the South Kingstown town government and senior center there. All right. So you watched Planet of the Humans as a group. Bill, what point do you want to bring up about it?
Well, it's interesting. When I saw the movie, I saw it was produced by Jeff Gibbs, whose name is not familiar to me, but then I saw the executive producer was Michael Moore. I thought for a minute, well, Michael Moore, he doesn't necessarily align himself with a conservative perspective. What he did, what Michael Moore does do is he's true to his roots. He believes what he believes in, he truly does believe in. And he did a deep dive into what the deal is with climate change and what we're doing with these windmills and solar panels and all that. It just didn't make any sense. And when you see what biomass is a great term. You think you're biologically burning something to create energy, but it goes well beyond that. I would recommend strongly anybody seeing the movie. And then as a follow-up to that, William Happer, who is a physicist out of, I believe it's Princeton, he did a bid on CO, and his contention is, believe it or not, the world does not have enough CO. We need more CO2 to promote plant growth and so forth. And of course, climate change is a big deal, but climate change, of course, relies on any number of things, least of which is human intervention.
Well, a lot of people believe that the extra CO2 and a little bit of warming is actually good for plant growth and vegetation and helps feed the world a little bit better. Kathy Kroner, what was your takeaway from the movie Planet of the Humans?
I guess my main was I didn't really understand what this biomass fuel is all about, and what they're calling renewable. It's only renewable in that it grows. Maybe in our lifetime we get trees back, but they cut everything, and I was kind of appalled to understand that everything, the brush, the trees, huge acreage is cleared completely in the name of biomass and renewable energy. And to me, this is very, very environmentally unsound. It's worse than digging up coal and using it.
They're talking about clearing the trees to put up wind farms and solar farms.
Well, not even clearing the trees to burn them. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I knew about the wind farms. In fact, my husband and I visited a place in Middletown a number of years ago, quite a long time ago, actually. And I was amazed to see them building. It was a yacht construction place, we thought, but they were actually building the windmill, the windmills part of the not the stand, but the blade part. And I was appalled because this is an oil produced product. We have to use oil to produce the components, and you might as well just get the oil out of the ground.
Okay, Ken, what was your takeaway from the movie?
Well, I have a bit of an engineering background. That one of the things I found interesting was that I remember when I first started to develop some of these topics, like the solar furnace concept, and that since then it's gone. Whatever was constructed to get all the mirrors lined up and everything, it's no more. So that a lot of these initial projects that were supposed to be the boom to solve the problem didn't work out. Wow. That we need to take a step back and consider, I know we can't read the future, but consider the immediate impact on our environment, including people's backyards. These people that have solar panels in their backyards, it's deflecting the rain, so they're getting erosion around their property in their own backyard. So wow. Things like that.
All right, so Bill, these supposedly sustainable solutions are really not as well. We know they're not market ready yet when it comes to how abundance and price competitiveness, but this movie seemed to point out that some of these so-called green solutions really aren't so environmentally friendly.
As a matter of fact, not just that. It's like putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. It's not going to do a heck of a lot. And people are convinced that we're going to be dealing with wind and solar, when in fact, none of it is ready for prime time. And the cost of it is tremendous. The cost that we're enduring is tremendous. Now, one might say, well, what's the cost of having a polluted plant? Well, I understand that. With technology, I think we have to continue to use the energy that we have while we make some of these technologies better and better and better. The fact of the matter is that we have some technologies that are in their infancy. Once they're proven, I think we'll find another way. But until then, I think we need to explore our natural energy, and that would be in the ground and oil, and continue to develop the other things. Yes.
And it's more than an environmental cost, Kathy. I mean, most of your seniors there, I'm sure, in your group are on fixed incomes. We know the price of energy for heating oil, for electricity, for whether just to run your appliances, your air conditioning now in the summer. I mean, does it make you feel? And thinking of everybody on limited budgets, who have to be worried about business or family, does it make you feel that this extra energy costs we're paying are really for naught? Did that movie make you feel more so?
I mainly felt, yes, I do feel that is the case. And I also want to point out that these solar and wind farm installations, which are gigantic and take up an incredible amount of land space, are only 10 years. 10 years go by and they're gone. The ones they put up out in the ocean are pollution in 10 years. There's been, I saw footage one time of one of these things clipping a golden eagle out of the sky. I saw it, with my own eyes. They have to walk around wind farms and they have to pick up dead birds. Birds tend to migrate at night. I felt, and even all the people involved, who love birds and try to save them, say that these wind farms are a huge hazard. And people don't realize that. It's hypocrisy. It is so much hypocrisy, and we're being fed it. And so many people believe.
Like so many other things, it's the fixed narrative now, and either you're with it or you're not. Now, Ken, there's another component to this, which Kathy sort of alluded to there, and I know, Bill, you brought it up in your notes to me. On top of everything we just talked about, there are insider cronies making millions and billions of dollars off of this environmental green wind farm, solar farm push. Did your group talk about that, Ken? And what do you think?
No, we didn't talk about it directly, but in the same vein, I'd like to raise the topic of insurance, that there's an increased cost of insurance. I just got the bill for my household insurance. When my folks were alive and they were down in Florida, they were paying more for flood insurance than the mortgage on their house.
Oh, wow.
So that there's a secondary cost increase that we're not quite aware of, and that's in terms of all this insurance, which in my personal opinion is legalized extortion.
Well, let me bring it back into the cost of all this. We very proudly speak about here in Rhode Island, the first offshore wind farm, the Black Island wind farm that we have. I ask anybody to take a look at their cost per kilowatt hour prior to that system being lit off, and about 4 months after, there was a significant increase in the cost of electricity directly related to that offshore wind farm. And by the way, these offshore wind turbines, they have a life expectancy of roughly 20 years. So we invest in tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into these things, and the lifespan is very, very short. We need to focus on maybe building better automobiles and better ways to burn the fuel. In the meantime, continue to push the scientific community and engineering community to develop these other dynamics, such as hydrogen fuel cells and so forth. But we're not ready for any of it yet. Not even.
No, I know. But even if we stay with traditional fossil fuels, America has reduced its carbon footprint more than any other nation without being part of the Paris Accord. Yeah. Just because of the technology, we're learning how to burn petroleum and natural gas more efficiently without giving us abundant, lower cost energy without excessive carbon. I mean, that's what it should all be about. Now, Bill, in your notes, you asked the question. I want each of you to weigh in on it. It kind of goes to what I was getting at with Kathy. You asked the question, is the dialogue or is the narrative of the green agenda, is it truthful? Have we been fed a pack of baloney on all this? Did your group talk about that? And I want to get each of your three opinion on that.
Yes, we did. And that was the whole point of the movie. After the film, actually the documentary, after the documentary, it became very, very clear that we're being hosed into thinking that using biomass fuel. Biomass, by the way, means burning garbage too, not just wood chips. And by the way, when you burn the wood chips, they don't burn hot enough, so you have to mix in tire rubber in order to make it burn hot enough. So there's so many misconceptions about what's going on in this whole business that I think we all want to be do-gooders. We all want to recycle our bottles and cans and all that stuff. But in fact, we're not. We're being duped into thinking, and this is intentional too, we're being duped into thinking that the cure for this thing is wind turbines and solar panels. Absolutely.
Kathy, do you feel like we've been duped? And what would you tell listeners and viewers to believe about all this?
Tell them to think and to read and to do their own research and find out about these things. Not just believe everything that we're told. We're told that renewables, electric, and people think immediately about wind and solar. Wind and solar actually power very little. They call this biomass renewable. Basically, they take all living things out of the acreage and they burn it. If this is ecologically sound, somebody has to re-educate me. I will say no, it's hypocrisy. It's all plain old hypocrisy. And people believe the lies that they're fed by whoever, the media or whatever.
Well, it's yet another narrative that's being pushed upon us. Ken, final word on this thought, then we got one more topic to cover. Go ahead, Ken.
All right, it's going to be a little devil's advocate here, but I believe that the scientists that are actually funded or to have grants and stuff to investigate solar, to investigate wind, whatever, that they firmly believe in what they're doing. However, they are in isolation from everybody else. So they can't see what else is happening and how they could be part of the chain or perhaps an outlier. So I think that the individual scientists they believe what they're doing, but unfortunately, they also are being duped.
Got it. Wow, interesting. So it sounds like a really interesting movie. Now, Bill, I want to pivot. We only got a few minutes left here. Just a quick comment from each of you. But I know you want to bring up the issue of plastics recycling. Like you said, maybe we should have less focus on all this CO2 stuff and renewable stuff and talk about pollution and what we're doing on the earth with plastics. Was that part of the movie? And what's your thoughts on this?
Well, that wasn't necessarily part of the movie because the movie concentrated on just renewables.
Okay.
We brought up as a sidebar subject about plastics recycling. And I don't know, most people think that we recycle tremendous amounts of plastics. And in fact, worldwide, if we recycle between 5 and 6% of it, that's a lot. Most of it gets buried. So when we do good, we put it in the blue bucket and the green bucket and all that other stuff. It still goes to landfills and gets buried. That's the issue. And microplastics now are in our food supply. They're in our water supply. There are plastics in our groundwater. Groundwater is not the stuff. That's surface water, lakes and streams. Groundwater is the stuff that we drink wells from. We're finding plastics are showing up there, and plastics that are 5 microns in diameter, which is that's the size of a red blood cell. And they're getting into our water supply, and we are ingesting those. And I don't think enough research is being done or has been done to determine what the long-range effects of that is. I think if we're going to do anything on this earth, let's get to the environmental issues as opposed to the global warming issues.
Kathy, your thoughts on plastic pollution?
I agree with him. I think plastic is the main source of pollution in the whole world, really. And they say huge gyres are out in the oceans of floating plastic, and it takes forever to decompose. It takes a lot. If you can count those really small bits, it takes literally longer than we know. But I go to the recycling, and they won't take plastic bags. They won't take other kinds of plastic stuff. I think that the best bet is to. I agree wholeheartedly with stopping the plastic bags, and I think a lot of stores have worked at that. But
it's a serious issue, is what you're saying. You're convinced. All right, Ken, you get the final. Oh, go ahead, Kathy. Finish up.
I just want to say one thing. Packaging materials in general are a big problem.
Yeah. All right, Ken, final word to you.
All right. Plastic, whether you know it or not, is a petroleum product.
Right.
Chemically, it's what they call a large chain molecule. I want to know what's the matter with glass that's made out of quartz. You go to the beach, you can make a 6-pack to hold your beer when you go to the picnic.
So there are alternatives to plastic. All right, Bill, Isabella, once again, your group has astounded us. What are you guys talking about today?
We're going to be talking about today. Well, this is first of the month free for all, so they're bringing in subjects.
Oh, okay.
I have a list of things. Namely, I brought in mainly the recent three Supreme Court rulings. We're going
to talk about it with you and your team in 2 weeks from today. Bill, Isabella, Kathy Kroner, Ken McCourt, thanks again for joining us here in the dugout. Thank you to our viewing audience for tuning in today. Hope you enjoyed our show today, our interviews. A lot of focus on the Planet of the Humans movie today. I guess we all have to see it. I got to see it now.
Yeah.
In the dugout, Mike Sten us out. We'll see you next game.
Thank you, Mike. Hold on.